believe people play with people intelligence the way they play with people intelligence and intellect. You know, the way they do today. You know, people are telling lies for a living. You know what I mean?
You know what's the to me? There's a who pick who he be fight with.
Right.
Like if you sit and you I'm not going because this nigga.
Him, but I fuck this one.
Yeah, I think I can take him.
Right.
They ain't never check into nobody.
No.
You know what I'm saying? They just go to their hotel and move militant. You know what I'm saying? When you move around the city, bro, you gotta be careful. And that's just, we dealing with G-Unit. Had a lot of drama.
J Prince and 50 Cent.
Okay, wow. J Prince and 50. That's definitely a clash of titans. Two very different approaches to the game.
Totally. And we've got a ton of info here trying to piece together what happens, you know, when this figure who's basically been a Houston institution forever, J Prince.
All right, the Rep-A-Lot founder. Decades of influence.
Exactly. What happens when he runs up against someone like 50 Cent, a global star who, let's be honest, plays by his own rules, nobody else's?
Yeah, 50's never been one to bow down to established systems, has he? That's kind of his brand.
Not at all. So our mission today is really to dig into that collision course.
Well, the immediate thing that jumps out is just how different their empires were built. You mentioned J Prince. He really cultivated the Houston scene from the ground up. And a big part of that culture, maybe controversial, but definitely present, was this idea of checking in.
Ah, the infamous checking in. Can you break that down a bit? What did that actually mean?
It was basically this unspoken code. You know, if you were an artist, especially a big name, coming into Houston to perform or maybe even move there, set up shop.
Okay.
You were sort of expected to touch base with J Prince or his people. It wasn't just like a polite hello. It implied respect for the existing structure, for his influence in the city.
And if you didn't check in?
Well, that's the thing. It wasn't explicitly stated, but the implication was there could be problems. Difficulty booking shows, maybe issues with security, that kind of thing. It carried weight.
Gotcha. So it's this established, almost ingrained system, and then you throw 50 Cent into the mix.
Exactly. 50, who basically built G-Unit on the idea of complete independence. Remember his early career? All those beefs?
Oh, yeah. He never backed down. Ever.
He built his own thing, his own security, his own machine, without asking anyone for permission or paying dues to existing powers. That G-Unit era was all about self-sufficiency.
So when whispers started that 50 was thinking about moving to Houston, you could already see the potential fireworks, right?
Absolutely. It was like, okay, here comes this massive independent force moving into territory governed by this very specific, localized code of conduct.
If 50 sets up in J Prince's backyard and just ignores this whole checking in thing, I mean, that sends a message, a loud one.
And that perceived lack of respect, that bypassing of the established hierarchy, seems to be where the initial tension really sparked. You've got J Prince embodying this regional power.
Right.
And then 50, whose influence is, frankly, global. It goes way beyond Houston.
Yeah.
The friction felt almost inevitable.
It started kind of quiet though, right? Like a bit of a Cold War, played out indirectly.
Yeah, some whispers, maybe some posts online, but nothing direct initially.
Yeah.
And then 50 just drops it casually.
Just like, oh yeah, by the way, I live in Houston now. Online. Boom.
Pretty much. And this wasn't just for show. There were real, solid business reasons behind it.
Okay, like what?
Well, taxes, for one. New York's tax situation wasn't exactly ideal for his expanding businesses, you know.
Makes sense.
Houston offered more space, lower costs, plus the hip-hop scene there was and still is really vibrant and growing. And critically, it was a great strategic spot for his Branson cognac.
Ah, the liquor brand getting traction in the South.
Exactly. He saw Houston as a smart business play, a place to expand his whole portfolio.
So from 50's perspective, it's just good business.
Yeah.
Logical.
Purely business logic, yeah.
Yeah.
But if you look at it through that Houston lens, through the check-in culture,
It looks totally different.
right, it could easily be seen as a deliberate snub. Like he was intentionally ignoring or undermining J Prince's authority on his home turf.
And that's reportedly exactly how J Prince took it. Word on the street was he felt completely bypassed, disrespected. There were even rumors, whispers that maybe some pressure was being applied behind the scenes, trying to get 50 to acknowledge the system, maybe even pay some kind of respect fee or tribute.
But knowing 50,
Yeah.
that was never going to happen.
No way. Tony Yayo actually talked about this later. He basically said G Unit always handled their own security. They weren't about to pay someone for protection they didn't need, especially if it felt like, well, like extortion disguised as respect.
Yeah, that's a key point. The framing of it not just as tradition, but potentially something else.
Things apparently got more tense. Rumors started flying that Jay Prince was trying to make Houston a sort of no-go zone for 50.
A no-fly zone, I think some called it, trying to block him.
Right. But this is 50 Cent we're talking about. His response. Classic 50.
Straight to Instagram.
Yeah. Unleashed the memes, the captions, directly poking fun at Jay Prince, mocking the whole situation. It was totally public, totally defiant. He was basically shouting, "Your old rules don't apply to me."
And that's a really interesting shift, isn't it? Using social media like that so directly to challenge that kind of established, often behind-the-scenes power.
Definitely. He bypassed everything and just took it straight to the public, to his massive audience. Used humor, memes. It kind of chipped away at that untouchable aura Jay Prince maybe had.
It absolutely reframed the narrative, made it accessible, almost entertainment for a global audience.
Okay, but then things get even more complicated. Remember, Fifi announced that huge film and TV studio project for Houston.
Vaguely, yeah. G-Unit Film and Television. Big investment, wasn't it?
Huge, like $20 million potentially, a massive boost for the city. But then, poof, it moves.
Moves where?
Shreveport, Louisiana.
Louisiana. Why?
Well, the official story was, better infrastructure, maybe better tax incentives over there. Plausible reasons.
Okay.
But the timing, right, and everything else going on, it strongly suggests that the ongoing friction in Houston had a lot to do with it. It's hard to believe that kind of major move happens without those behind-the-scenes tensions playing a role.
That makes sense. Even for someone like 50 Cent, maybe the hassle, the potential for disruption to a major business venture just wasn't worth it. It shows the real-world impact these street politics can have, even if unspoken.
Exactly. It raises questions about the real cost of not playing by those old, unwritten rules.
But then comes the twist.
The big twist. While Jay Prince might have been allegedly trying to put the squeeze on him, the city of Houston seemed to roll out the red carpet.
What happened?
Get this. Barely a year after he moves, 2022, Mayor Sylvester Turner gives 50 Cent the key to the city.
Wow, okay, that's major.
And declares November 24th, 50 Cent Day at the Thanksgiving Day Parade. He's being praised publicly for his charity work, his business investments, his G-Unity program helping kids.
So the official city leadership is embracing him completely.
Overwhelmingly positive public reception. It was like Houston itself was saying, forget the old guard stuff, we like what you're bringing.
That's a really powerful counter-narrative. Public acceptance, mayoral endorsement, that shifts the perception of power significantly, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Especially when it's so visible.
And it wasn't just talk. His foundation, G-Unity, started doing real work. Turkey drives, massive Christmas toy giveaways, like hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of toys.
Actual community impact.
Yeah, partnering his Sire Spirits brand with the Rockets, the Texans, the Astros. He helped raise $500,000 for the Houston Children's Charity just this year. Tangible stuff.
You see this clear contrast emerging then. 50 building goodwill through very public, positive community engagement.
Right.
Versus the alleged more coercive behind-the-scenes tactics associated with the old system. It's two totally different ways of wielding influence.
You have to wonder what Jay Prince was thinking watching all this unfold. The key to the city, 50 Cent Day. It almost looks like a public dethroning in a way.
It certainly challenges his long-held position as the power broker.
And then Tony Yayo pops up on Vlad TV, right? And he just lays it bare. No mincing words about why G-Unit never did the check-in thing.
What did he say? I missed that interview.
He basically called it what many suspected, extortion. He said, look, we handle our own security. We're not paying you for the privilege of being here. And he even warned other artists, saying the feds are watching this stuff now.
Bringing up the legal risks, RICU charges.
Exactly. He framed it as dangerous, telling artists they need to move militant, be self-reliant, and avoid these street alliances that could land them in serious trouble.
That's a significant statement from someone within that world, reframing tradition as potential organized crime. It suggests the ground might be shifting, that people are more aware of the legal dangers now.
Yayo really hammered it home, saying checking in just makes you a target. He even mentioned Pop Smoke's tragic death as like a cautionary tale about relying on the wrong people.
Heavy stuff.
Then you have the whole NBA YoungBoy situation. Remember that?
Vaguely. He got robbed in Houston, right? After supposedly not checking in.
Exactly. Robbed. Then, suddenly, Jay Prince is on Instagram, basically claiming he heroically recovered Youngboy's stolen stuff.
Okay, trying to look like the protector.
Maybe. But Youngboy wasn't buying it. He fires back, calls Jay Prince a clout chaser, says if the help was real, it would have been handled privately, not blasted on social media.
Oof, that backfired then.
Totally. And other big names like Cameron and May even jumped in, criticizing Jay Prince, saying his methods were outdated, more about ego than actually helping artists.
So even his peers are starting to question that old way of doing things. Interesting. It really shows a decline in the perceived legitimacy of that system.
And the rumors around Jay Prince, they don't stop at just checking in. There's this whole other layer about dice games.
Dice games, like high-stakes gambling.
Yeah. For years, there have been these persistent whispers, allegations really, that he's involved in rigged, high-stakes dice games. Games may be designed to fleece people, including rappers with cash.
Okay, that sounds risky.
Extremely. And then the tragic death of Takeoff happened after a dice game. That brought all those rumors roaring back.
Was there a connection alleged?
Unconfirmed reports, whispers again, suggested that maybe Takeoff and Quavo hadn't properly checked in, and perhaps the incident at the dice game was initially meant to be just a scare tactic linked to that displeasure. It's all unproven, of course.
Very serious allegations, even as rumors.
And Jay Prince's responses were seen by many as deflective. There were even accusations floating around about potential evidence tampering related to the case. Plus, there was another awful incident with Duke the Jeweler.
What happened there?
Robbed and killed after apparently winning big at one of these dice games. Again, it adds to this disturbing picture of potential danger surrounding these scenes.
It paints a picture where these informal systems, whether it's checking in or these high-stakes games, can have incredibly dangerous, even fatal consequences.
So you've got this stark divide. 50 Cent building schools, giving away turkeys, getting keys to the city.
Building positive public influence.
And on the other side, these persistent shadows. Alleged extortion, rigged games, violence, fear tactics.
It's a clear contrast in approaches to power and influence within the same city, within the same industry.
And now, the latest layer to this. The rumor mill is churning again. Word is 50 Cent might actually be gathering information, maybe even evidence, about the alleged extortion racket.
Seriously. For what purpose?
Potentially, and this is just speculation, potentially involving federal authorities.
Whoa. Okay, that would be a game changer. If the feds got involved based on information from someone like 50,
it could completely dismantle that whole check-in system or anything resembling it. Given 50's history, you know he doesn't bluff and he doesn't back down easily. This could be the ultimate confrontation.
that would send shockwaves far beyond Houston if it happened. A direct challenge using the legal system against that kind of entrenched street power.
So it leaves us with this massive question, doesn't it? Who really runs Houston now? Is it still the established figure, the one who operated through respect and allegedly fear for decades?
Or is it the newcomer, the entrepreneur, the philanthropist who's been publicly embraced and celebrated by the city itself?
It really makes you think about how power and influence work in hip-hop today. Is street credibility still the ultimate currency?
Or can mainstream success, business acumen, and genuine community engagement actually challenge and maybe even replace those older, sometimes darker forms of control? It's a fascinating power struggle to watch.
Absolutely. Definitely one to keep a very close eye on. The implications are huge.